My girlfriend of 5 years cheated with my best friend, so I ruined their lives in front of everyone. I, 34 male, have spent the last 5 years building what I thought was an ironclad life with my girlfriend, Chloe, 31 female. I work as a senior project manager in commercial construction, a career that demands long hours, constant logistics management, and zero tolerance for mistakes. Chloe always claimed she admired my drive, but as I eventually found out, she was using my late nights at the office to build a completely different life behind my back. The other person in this equation was my supposed best friend since college, Marcus, 34 male. Marcus was the guy who stood by me through my 20s, the guy I helped financially when his marketing firm almost went under, and the person I trusted above everyone else. I treated him like a brother. He treated me like a mark. The betrayal didn't start with a sudden blowout. It started with small, subtle shifts that I initially blamed on my own exhaustion. Chloe started turning her phone face down whenever I entered the kitchen. Marcus, who used to drop by my place 3 times a week to watch sports or grab a beer, suddenly only visited when he knew I was stuck at a job site handling a concrete pour. I didn't want to be the paranoid, controlling boyfriend, so I let it slide. I trusted them completely. That was my first mistake. I thought 5 years of history with Chloe and over a decade of brotherhood with Marcus meant something. It didn't mean a damn thing to either of them. The turning point happened 3 weeks ago. I came home early from an out-of-town inspection because the weather canceled our site work. I didn't text Chloe because I wanted to surprise her with dinner. When I walked through the front door, the house was dead silent. But Marcus's jacket was thrown over the back of my living room sofa. I walked upstairs, and right outside my bedroom door, I heard them laughing. They weren't just talking. They were actively mocking me. I stood there in the hallway, my blood running completely cold, listening to my best friend and my girlfriend of 5 years discuss how clueless I was. Marcus joked about how my obsession with my career made it incredibly easy for them to use my own house while I was out earning the money that paid for the roof over their heads. Chloe laughed, a sharp, patronizing sound, and told him that she was just waiting for the right time to break things off with me after Marcus's business finalized its next big contract. I didn't storm inside. I didn't kick the door down or start a physical fight. My job has trained me to handle high-stress crises with cold, calculated logic. If I reacted right then, they would just pack their bags, lie to our mutual friends, and spin the narrative to make me look like the unstable, aggressive ex-boyfriend. I wasn't going to let them control the story. I quietly turned around, walked down the stairs, exited the house, and sat in my car. I took a deep breath, forced my hands to stop shaking, and began planning the demolition of their reputations. I wanted everyone we knew to see them exactly for what they were, parasites. Over the next 2 weeks, I played the part of the oblivious, hard-working partner. I smiled, I kissed Chloe goodbye in the morning, and I invited Marcus over for dinner. But behind the scenes, I was gathering every piece of ammunition I could find. I hired a local private investigator to track them during the days I was at work. Within a week, the PI handed me a digital folder containing crystal-clear high-definition photographs, text message logs intercepted through shared network vulnerabilities, and hotel receipts. They weren't even being careful. They had been sleeping together for over 8 months, taking weekend trips using Marcus's business accounts and using my own guest room when I was pulling double shifts. The perfect venue for the exposure presented itself naturally. Marcus's marketing firm was celebrating its 5-year anniversary, and he was hosting a massive formal gala at a high-end downtown venue. He had invited over 100 people, including all our mutual college friends, his primary corporate clients, his major investors, and his deeply religious, old-school parents who funded his initial startup cost. He had even asked me to give a short speech at the event to talk about his integrity and journey as a businessman. I agreed with a smile. I told him I would prepare something that nobody in that room would ever forget. The night of the gala arrived. I wore my best tailored suit, walked into the ballroom with Chloe on my arm, and acted completely normal. Chloe looked stunning, completely unaware that the man holding her hand was about to erase her entire social circle. Marcus greeted us at the VIP table, clapping me on the back and thanking me for coming. I looked him in the eye, shook his hand, and told him I wouldn't miss it for the world. I watched him mingle with his high-profile clients, bragging about his firm's ethics and success, while Chloe sat next to me, secretly texting someone under the table. My PI confirmed it was Marcus, sitting just 2 tables away. The sheer audacity of it fueled the absolute lack of remorse I felt for what I was about to do. Halfway through the evening, the presentations began. The DJ called me up to the stage to deliver my speech. The room went quiet and a giant projector screen lowered behind me, which was originally intended to show a promotional video for Marcus's company. I walked up to the microphone, adjusting my cuffs, completely calm. I started out traditionally, thanking everyone for coming and acknowledging Marcus's accomplishments over the years. I talked about how long we had known each other, dating back to our college days, and how I always thought he was a man who understood the value of loyalty and trust. I saw Marcus smiling from his table, nodding along, totally soaking up the praise. Then, I changed my tone. "But recently," I said into the microphone, my voice echoing clearly across the ballroom, "I learned that Marcus's definition of loyalty is very different from mine. He doesn't just limit his talent to marketing, he's also exceptionally skilled at taking things that belong to the people who support him." The smile instantly faded from Marcus's face. The room shifted, a quiet murmur rippling through the crowd. I didn't hesitate. I pulled the remote control for the media system out of my pocket, a system my PI had helped me access earlier that afternoon. I clicked the button. The giant projector screen behind me didn't show his corporate logo. Instead, it flashed a massive, high-definition photo of Marcus and Chloe coming out of a local boutique hotel, holding hands, followed immediately by a screenshot of a text message exchange from Chloe's phone. The text read, "He has no idea. He thinks I'm at my mom's. We can use his bed tonight while he's at the warehouse site." The silence that hit that ballroom was deafening. It was the kind of drop in air pressure you feel right before a massive storm. I watched the color completely drain from Chloe's face. She went from a healthy tan to a sickly pale white in a matter of seconds. Marcus stood up so fast he knocked his champagne glass over, shattering it against the floor. His mother let out a loud, audible gasp of horror, her hands flying to her mouth as she stared at the screen showing her son's explicit betrayal. I didn't stop clicking. I looped a slideshow of 20 different pieces of evidence. Hotel check-ins, time-stamped photos of Marcus's car parked outside my house at 2 a.m. while I was logged in at work, and detailed logs of Marcus using his corporate expense accounts, the ones funded by his investors, to buy Chloe expensive jewelry and weekend getaways. I made sure every single person in that room, from his biggest financial backers to his own parents, saw exactly how he conducted his life and his business. For 5 years, I gave this woman my home, my trust, and my life, I said, my voice completely steady, staring directly at the VIP table. And for 12 years, I called this man my brother. Tonight, you are all celebrating his success, but I want you to see exactly what his success is built on. He is a thief, a liar, and a coward. And Chloe, your bags are already sitting on the curb of the house you loved using so much. The locks were changed 3 hours ago. Marcus tried to storm the stage, yelling at the top of his lungs, but 2 of the venue security guards, whom I had tipped generously prior to the event, immediately intercepted him, pinning his arms behind his back in front of his entire professional network. His main investor, an older gentleman who held over 40% of the firm's capital, stood up from his table, gave Marcus a look of absolute disgust, and walked straight out of the building. 3 other corporate clients followed him within minutes. The professional reputation Marcus spent his entire life building evaporated before the main course was even served. Chloe started crying hysterically, covering her face as our mutual friends turned away from her, refusing to make eye contact. She tried to run out of the ballroom, tripping over her dress in the process, completely humiliated in front of everyone she had ever tried to impress. I laid the microphone down on the podium, stepped off the stage, and walked out the side doors into the cool night air. I didn't look back once. The fallout over the last 3 weeks has been absolute and unyielding. Marcus's primary investors officially pulled their funding less than 48 hours after the gala, citing moral turpitude clauses in their contracts. His marketing firm is currently in the process of liquidation because no reputable local business wants their name associated with a guy whose public exposure went viral among the city's business elite. His parents have completely cut him off financially and socially, refusing to bail him out of the massive debt he now owes from the sudden collapse of his company. He went from being a rising CEO to an absolute pariah, with a ruined credit score and zero professional prospects. Chloe didn't fare any better. Our mutual friends completely blocked her numbers and social media accounts. Nobody wanted to be associated with someone who could systematically deceive a partner of 5 years. She spent 3 days staying at a cheap motel because her parents, who always respected my work ethic, refused to let her move back into their house after seeing the evidence of what she did. She tried calling me from blocked numbers dozens of times, leaving sobbing voicemails begging for a conversation, claiming she was confused and that Marcus had manipulated her. I didn't read the texts, and I didn't listen to the voicemails. I forwarded every single one of them to my lawyer to add to the harassment file. I spent the last 2 weekends completely purging my home of every single item that reminded me of her. Everything she owned was boxed up and dropped off at a local donation center. I didn't even want her trash on my property. I've upgraded my home security system with high-definition cameras, reinforced deadbolts, and a perimeter alarm, ensuring that neither of them can ever step foot near my sanctuary again. I also went to the warehouse, pulled an extra week of overtime, and focused entirely on my projects. My career is thriving because I took all the energy I was wasting on a broken relationship and channeled it into my execution at work. Some people in my extended family tried to tell me that I went too far, that exposing them publicly was unnecessary and cruel. They said I should have just walked away quietly and been the bigger person. I completely disagree. Being the bigger person is a narrative invented by cowards to ensure that predators never have to face the true weight of their actions. If I had walked away quietly, Marcus would still be running his business with my money, Chloe would be spinning a lie about why we broke up, and I would be carrying the burden of their secret. By bringing their actions into the light, I forced them to carry the weight of their own choices. I don't feel a single ounce of guilt. I look at my life now and it feels clean. The dead weight has been completely removed. I wake up in a house that belongs solely to me, knowing that nobody is lying to my face or plotting behind my back. My finances are secure, my reputation is spotless, and my conscience is entirely clear. I learned a brutal lesson about trust, but I also learned that I have the discipline to defend my own life when people try to destroy it. They thought I was the quiet, hard-working guy who would just take the hit. They learned the hard way that when you cross a man who builds for a living, he knows exactly how to tear down everything you own. The bridges are burned, the trash has been cleared, and I am moving forward completely on my own terms.